Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. I am having technical issues, so I'm going to try to get through this podcast while the technical issues are subsiding. I'm still having technical issues, but it seems to work at the moment, so hopefully it will continue to work. I do need to let you know, though, that this episode was brought to you by Bike Swimmer, GeoHole, James H. I think it's okay to say that James hosts the True North EVs podcast, and you should probably go check that out. Mark G. and Nate Z. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you to everybody who supports the show, but especially those 5 individuals who brought you this episode. If you would like to sponsor a show or this show, go to supportkilowatt.com for details on how to do that. But a big thanks again to Bike Swimmer, GeoHole, James H., Mark G., and Nate Z. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode. Lucid owners now have access to Android Auto, and I should say, I don't think Lucid Gravity owners have access to this yet, just Lucid Air owners. If you want to connect your Android directly to your car, you will need Android 11 or higher. However, if you don't have Android 11 or higher, fear not, because Android 9.0 or higher, you can connect via USB cable. So wirelessly, you have to have Android 11 or higher, but you can connect via USB cable if you have Android 9 or higher. Lucid, if you're curious, already supports CarPlay, so that's why we're not talking about CarPlay. The Rivian describes its design studio as a place where creativity meets feasibility. And one of the things they've talked about quite a bit in the last few weeks is their drive unit for the Rivian R2, which is called Maximus, the Maximus drive unit. This drive unit's going to primarily be used on R2 and R3. The advantages are it's lighter, it costs less, it's easier to manufacture, and it has higher performance than the Enduro drive unit, which is used on the R1 platform. The R2 is still expected to sell for $45,000. That's the starting price next year. NIO's economy brand, Firefly, is headed to the UK, possibly as early as October. Now, I have heard that the Firefly brand is expected to be in Europe by the end or by the halfway point of 2026 or 2025, which we are currently there. So I would expect Firefly to be in Europe any moment now, but in October, UK folks should have it. The Firefly, if you don't know, is a small compact vehicle, EV. It has a really unique and cool look. It'll compete with cars like the Volkswagen ID2, the Renault 5, and the Kia EV3. We don't know what the price in the UK will be yet, or honestly, we don't know what the price in Europe will be either. But in China, the Firefly sells for the equivalent of 12,350 pounds, or $16,700. Speaking of NIO, and when I say NIO, in this case, I mean the car company, because NIO has the Envo brand, the Firefly brand, and the NIO brand. So the NIO car company, which sells the EL6, EL8, ET5, and ET5 Touring, they are expanding to 7 additional European countries. So Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Luxembourg, Poland, and Romania. So that's good to see NIO expanding their business. I mean, I say this all the time, but I think NIO is one of the coolest companies out there. They certainly have their problems, but in general, I think they're a company or an example of a company that's doing good things in the market. They're not just building an EV to build an EV. They have cool technology behind their EV. They also have a price behind it. It's not exactly cheap. Even the Firefly, which is supposed to be the most economical brand is a little bit more money than what you would spend in China for like a BYD Dolphin, for instance. So it's a little more expensive for it's at the top end of that price point. Let's put it that way. All right. According to IC Cars, EVs, electric vehicles, depreciate faster than their gas counterparts. So, gas, hybrid, diesel vehicles will typically depreciate around 45% or 45.6% over 5 years, whereas EVs as a group will depreciate at 58.8% over 5 years. So, I looked at this report and I just kind of picked out some different car models here and what their depreciation is over 5 years. So here's a few different models. The Nissan Leaf depreciates at 64.1% over 5 years. The Hyundai Kona Electric depreciates over 58%. The Kia Niro depreciates over 56.5%. The Model Y is 53.4%. The Model S is 65.2%. The Rivian depreciates 52.8% over 5 years, and the Jaguar I-Pace is 72.2% over 5 years. I think the Jaguar I-Pace is a really good car. I can't tell you, I don't have enough experience with it to say that it is, whatever it costs, $70,000. I don't know if it's going to be that quality of a car, but in general, I think it looks really nice. I've heard good things when people drive it. I've heard nice things about the drive. But if, you can't afford or don't want to pay for a brand new I-Pace, which Jaguar is doing away with anyway, picking up a used one for 72% off for one that's 5 years old, that's not too bad. Moving on to our final story in our EV segment, Chevy sold 10,329 Equinox EVs in Q1 2025. Now, that accounts for nearly 1/3 of the total EVs that GM sold in that time period. So GM sold 31,886 EVs, and 10,000 of those were Equinox EVs. And honestly, I would not be surprised at all to see Chevy sell even more of those in Q2 2025. Right now, they have some great deals going with the Equinox EV. Like leases start at $289 a month if that's something you're interested in. If you're not into leases and you actually want to buy your vehicles, then GM is offering 0% APR financing for 60 months on all EV models. So that's pretty good. Right now, GM is the second best-selling brand in the United States when it comes to EVs, behind Tesla. But they still have a little bit to go because Tesla sold over 128,000 EVs in Q1 2025. So this year they had a down quarter. They still sold 128,000 EVs in Q1 2025. GM has sold nearly 62,000 EVs, not in the first quarter, but through May. So 62,000 EVs in the first 5 months, which, for GM and other EV companies, that's pretty good here in the United States. But it's not 128,000 EVs like where Tesla's at. So that concludes our EV news. Let's move on to our Tesla news. Electrek is reporting that Tesla is sitting on a mountain of inventory. So Tesla is storing these overflow vehicles in just random parking lots. Like this is just one example. It's not the only example, but there's a parking lot that happens to be located next to a partially demolished mall in Chesterfield, Missouri, which isn't too far outside of St. Louis. And it is storing hundreds of unsold vehicles. The one thing that I was not 100% clear on in these articles is whether these are new vehicles or whether they're used vehicles that were like someone's lease was up, so they went ahead and turned it back into Tesla, or somebody did a trade-in. I wasn't clear on what the mix was. I can't imagine that all of these vehicles are new because there were several. They mentioned several different parking lots that were overflow. And honestly, it seems very far fetched to me that Tesla would overproduce by this many cars. But they in the past they've been fairly close to producing as many cars as they needed. So as we learn more about this story, I'll make sure to keep you informed. I have heard this several times over the last couple of months and even probably a year of Tesla building up inventory or not being able to move inventory. But yeah, I've heard it enough now that I feel comfortable talking about it, and we'll see where it goes. Moving on to our next story, Tesla is suing a former Optimus engineer for stealing trade secrets, or they say that he sold trade secrets. So Jay Lee is accused of stealing confidential files and using them to kickstart his new company. And Tesla says they know that he stole these files because in their system, he downloaded a bunch of files that had to do with Optimus's hands. And Tesla says that the documents that he downloaded would help Lee and his startup, and I'm using a direct quote here, shortcut the typical development process for robot hands, which honestly is I don't know, I find that phrase funny. But anyway, Lee worked with Tesla's Optimus sensor team from 2022 to 2024, and he founded his company Proception 6 days after leaving Tesla. Proception was actually able to create a set of robot hands. By the way, they did this in 5 months that have striking similarities to the design that Tesla uses for Optimus. So just because Tesla said this guy stole this information doesn't mean he did. So we will keep an eye on this and update you as it goes through the courts. But I thought that was interesting. And finally, man, I misjudged how long it would take to record this podcast. Cars.com has made its 2025 America Index. So this declares the most American-made car models. There's 116 vehicles on this list. I picked out a few of the EVs. I tried to get all of the EVs, but I'm going to miss some. It's 116. So the Cadillac Lyriq is sitting at number 98. At number 67, we have the Kia EV9. And then we drop down to number 30 with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. At number 22, we have the F-150 Lightning. And then that brings us to the top 10. Now, obviously, some of the top 10 vehicles are gas-powered vehicles, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are EVs. So at number 10, we have the ID4, which is made by Volkswagen. Number 6, we have the Kia EV6. Number 4, we have the Model X. Number 3, we have the Model S. Number 2 is the Model Y. And number 1, can you guess what number 1 is? It's the Model 3. So Tesla took the top 4 spots of the most American-made car model. So there we go. That's the news. Honestly, let me see how many pages I have. I have 3 pages. I thought I had 4, but I have 3 pages. So maybe that's why this episode is so short. But I grossly misjudged how long this podcast would be. So let's see here. I'm not going to fill time for another 6 minutes so that we can have a full 20-minute episode. I will naturally end this, but I do want to let you know, if you have emailed me and I haven't emailed you back, I'm slowly working through those. The thing is, and I think I've said this before, is when you email me, I want to read your emails. I want to understand your point of view. And I want to reply to that email with a thoughtful response. Now, obviously, if you email me a very long email, I'm going to give you a thoughtful response that's probably not as long, right? But I don't want to just give you a thumbs up and we call that an email interaction. So in order for me to do this, it does take quite a bit of time, and I enjoy doing it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about this. But because it takes a little bit of time, it takes longer to reply to the emails. I'm in a very fortunate position at the moment that I'm receiving a decent number of emails, and those emails happen to be like really thoughtful and good. And I want to make sure that I don't disrespect your time by just kind of giving you a short blow off answer. So if you've emailed me and I haven't responded, don't worry. I will get to you. And as soon as I get through all the emails, I'll let you know. And if I still haven't responded, please email me at that time and I will go back and try to find your email and respond to it. Okay, everybody. Well, that is it for me. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. If you are here in the US and you're a father, happy Father's Day. Obviously, I was not able to get an episode recorded on Sunday. I was traveling that day. So we're back on the Tuesday, Friday episodes. Yeah. If I can crank out an extra one at some time before the end of the month, I will, if I can find something interesting to talk about. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you on Friday.